Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Mayor and Board of Commissioners for the Town of Rising Sun for October the 10th, 2023. Could I get the roll call, please?
Commissioner Braun?
Here.
Commissioner Kleiner?
Here.
Commissioner Pearson?
Here.
Commissioner Warnick?
Here.
Let the record show you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In light of the prayer this evening, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for Israel. As many of you have seen in the news, the heinous terrorist attacks by Hamas continued today, and I know on behalf of our elected body in our town, we send our thoughts and prayers to the nation of Israel. Thank you. All right, Town Administrator, consent agenda.
All right, so what you have in front of you is the approval of the meeting video summary from September 12th, 2023. You have a tentative schedule of the upcoming town meetings, one being on November 14th, the second one being on December 12th. You also have two resolutions before you. The reason why they're in the consent agendas are pretty much just appointing folks to boards that we have. One being, we have a fourth member or fourth resident who's requested to serve on the Code Enforcement Appeals Board. If you recall at the last meeting, we created that board and put 3 members on it. Now we have a fourth person who would like to join.
Which one? Is it Bill?
No, it's Tom Hudson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I looked at something different.
Yeah. And then the other one you have is a resolution for the Board of Election Judges. You see the individuals that are looking to be appointed on that board. And I think it probably just, for the record, we should name the names so people know. So on Resolution 2023-18 for the Code Enforcement Board, we have Mr. Tom Hudson looking to serve on the Code Enforcement Board of Appeals. He would serve until June 30th of 2025. On the Board of Election Judges, we have a Mr. David Klein, Miss Joanne Osborne, Miss Carol Slayball, Mr. William Meehan, who would like to serve on the election board. One of the things I wanted to point out, most of our terms of office run until basically June 30th of the year at the end of the term. The election board was basically set up in our charter to terminate in March, the second Tuesday in March of that year, to give the board ample time to get people on the board as they start to submit their candidate applications. We would have a board in place. We've had a problem getting people to serve on the election board, as you know, so that's why we're so late in the game this year. But I just wanted to point out to you that stands out is the term ends in March, when most of all of our other terms on all the other boards expire in June, but that's the reason why. So that is the items on the consent agenda.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
The only thing I'd like to say is, again, every time we do appointments of people to boards, I just like to recognize that it's a lot of time they give up, and people don't realize the commitment that people are making to service of their community in joining these boards and serving for it's a thankless job. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Warnick. The only thing that I would say is Section C, if we could just get that to reflect that it's Paul Tom Hudson. On our agenda, it's a little different, so just a minor correction on that. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. Town Administrator, new business, ordinance 2023-14, Chapter 4, which is street parking. Do you have that?
Yes, I do. So, as I've been communicating with you all, we've had an interesting anomaly occur to some degree regarding parking on some of our residential streets. And we want to make sure that we are providing our police department with the proper tools that they need to be able to, mitigate parking that is done in a manner that either interferes with a regular passenger vehicle from being able to go down the street, or a trash truck, or more importantly, an emergency services vehicle. It's interesting, like, people always say things happen in threes. They seem to happen that way here at the town of Rising Sun. About 2 weeks ago, we had a dumpster that was placed on a residential street that was interfering with the trash collection. And then a week later, we had another issue where the trash hauler had to get out and manually pull all the trash cans to a location to be able to dump them. And that was a service that they did for us, but they're not going to want to continue to do that. So we wanted to make sure that in our town code that it eliminated any gaps that might exist in the state statute to allow to do that. Let me emphasize by saying, we're always allowed to create rules and regulations that are more stringent than the state. And I'm not suggesting that what we are doing is more stringent from the state. I'm just suggesting that we're making it a little bit more clear, and to enable our officers to basically use one document to deal with this stuff, as opposed to maybe having to flip back and forth between multiple documents. So if you're good with this, we can read the boilerplate language in to the code.
Please.
Okay. So this is ordinance 2023-14, an ordinance of the town of Rising Sun that's basically going to make changes to Chapter 4 of the town code. The standard boilerplate, the town of Rising Sun is a municipality organized under the annotated code of Maryland. The town is proclaimed as a perpetual entity with the right to pass laws. Section 4, whereas the Code of Ordinances of the town contains Chapter 4 titled Traffic, Vehicles, and Transportation, which establishes the general guidelines associated with the proper flow and movement of vehicles upon the town streets and the parking of such vehicles on any public streets and/or municipal lots within the town. And whereas the town has identified numerous instances where the parking of vehicles, construction equipment, or dumpsters on public streets has interfered with the collection of trash and recyclables, but more importantly, the proper and timely access and placement of emergency vehicles during police, fire, or emergency medical calls for service. Now therefore being enacted and ordained by the town commissioners of the town of Rising Sun, Cecil County, Maryland, and it's hereby enacted and ordained by its authority that Chapter 4 of the town code shall be modified as follows. Section 1, the attached document titled Chapter 4, titled Traffic and Transportation, Article 1, Parking Regulations, shall be modified to reflect the changes intended with this ordinance, with such changes indicated by new language to be highlighted in red with a single underline, and deleted text indicated by a single strike-through line. Section 2, all ordinances or parts thereof inconsistent herewith are repealed, rescinded, canceled, and annulled. Should any provision, section, paragraph, or subparagraph of this ordinance, including any code or text adopted hereby, be declared null and void. You guys have seen that language before. I'm not going to bore everybody with that. This ordinance could be adopted as an emergency ordinance tonight. That would be something that you guys would make a motion to do or not do that, and then adopt the ordinance if you wanted. Getting into the actual ordinance language here, and unfortunately, the copying did not put it in red like it's supposed to. So I can let you know the new language here. We have a new definition, or we've included a definition for fire access road, lane, and staging areas, because we want to make sure, again, from a code enforcement standpoint, yeah, the NFPA codes, fire prevention codes will tell you that you can't block a fire access lane. But again, we want the police officer to be able to have all that information in one location. So if somebody parks blocking one of those lanes, it's even ambiguous as to whether or not our law enforcement officers could enforce a provision in the fire prevention code. So we want to make sure that we had it clearly in our code that they can't block that. So that's the definition there. Then you get down, the language that I'm going through, section 4-104, all that language is already in the code itself of what you can and can't do. And the language that we have added is item number 5. A vehicle parked along a street shall have the front of the vehicle pointed in the direction of the authorized flow of traffic. And A vehicle stopped or parked on a two-way roadway shall be stopped or parked parallel to the right-hand curb or edge of the roadway with its right-hand wheels within 12 inches of that curb or edge of the roadway. B, a vehicle that is stopped or parked on a one-way roadway shall be stopped or parked parallel to the curb or edge of the roadway with its right-hand wheels within 12 inches of the right-hand curb or edge of the roadway. Or number 2, its left-hand wheels within 12 inches of the left-hand curb or edge of the roadway. Number 6, the overnight unintended parking of construction equipment or the placement of construction dumpsters shall not be parked or placed within a fire access lane, or B, shall not be parked or placed in a manner that interferes with the free movement and passage of traffic, refuse collection, or emergency vehicles, and C, shall comply with section 4-1045 above. Give me 1 second here, I want to look up one more thing here to make sure that we're right on this.
And Town Administrator, when we put this on our website, we'll make sure that it's in red, correct?
Yes, it's in red in the printed copy, but for whatever reason it loaded up here, so I want to make sure I have them all covered. I'm going to go back here, and I apologize, not realizing it's not showing up here like it should. When you go back to number 4 here, no person shall stop, stand, or park a vehicle except when necessary to avoid conflict with other traffic or in compliance with the direction of a police officer or traffic control device in any one of the following places. A, on an existing sidewalk. Let me back up here. Why am I having a problem? I'm sorry.
Do you have a printed copy?
Yeah, I have it. That's why I'm trying to
Okay.
marry the two together here. I'm sorry, this is where we should be right here with the change. Number 4, no person shall stop, stand, or park a vehicle on a street or fire access road in a manner that interferes with the free movement and passage of traffic, refuse collection, or emergency vehicles, to include parking parallel to a vehicle, construction equipment, dumpster, or other object on the opposite side of the road in a manner that reduces the passageway between the two parked vehicles, equipment, dumpster, or object to less than 10 feet. Now this is, I'm going to be real blunt with this is why this is so important. We know we had bad development in this community back in the early 2000s, and we know that roads were allowed to be built in a manner that may or may not have complied with our town codes at that point. And we're running into a situation where sometimes people parking vehicles on these roads are not paying attention to the implications of how they're parking. And so, for instance, you typically don't see a sign in a community that says, "Don't block a fire hydrant." But we all know not to park and block a fire hydrant. And the state law already says that you can't park parallel to a construction site in a manner that's going to impede traffic. There's no sign telling somebody, "Don't park next to the pile of stone." So the same logic applies here, that you really shouldn't park in a manner, whether it be in a cul-de-sac or whatever, where a vehicle can't get around it. Or you really shouldn't be parking right across from your neighbor that you can clearly see that it's too close and a vehicle won't be able to get up the street. So that's the loose ends that we're trying to correct here. That's the intent of that. Number 5, a vehicle parked along a street shall have the front of the vehicle pointed in the direction of the authorized flow of traffic. These items are already in the state code, but they were not mentioned in our code. So again, it's all meant to bring it in, to afford our police officers with being able to use the same code. It's basically talking about your vehicle needs to be within 12 inches of the curb. You can't park 2 feet off the curb or edge of the road. Number 6, the overnight parking of construction equipment. We already read that. Apologize for jumping around here, but that's basically the gist of the ordinance that we're adopting here, proposing to adopt. And we're also giving the police department a little bit more authority to have these vehicles or objects removed. So we ran into the issue the other day of a dumpster being parked out in the street. From a code enforcement standpoint, Gary and I were conveying to the dumpster company, if you don't come and move this, we're gonna have our public works department put a forklift on it and we'll drag it out of here. This would just give more authority to the police department to be able to do that same thing if there's a public safety issue here.
And your thought process with doing it as an emergency is that we're seeing it as a, that it's happening more often and that we can get it fixed quickly? Is that your
Yeah,
thought
I mean,
process?
what we'd like to do and what we're probably going to do is just the areas of concern, we're gonna send sort of a friendly, hey, do you know that you shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff? It's not our intent to adopt this ordinance and then go out tomorrow or next week and start issuing citations. We want to send notices out to people and let them know the reasons why this is so dangerous. Because some of us have been here long enough to hear the fire department complain, we
Yes.
couldn't get a fire truck up the street. So,
Oh, Jim Kite, for years.
So I would not be opposed to adopting this as an emergency, but I would like to see if that's the case, that we, for the first 2 weeks or 30 days or whatever, do more warnings. Do public education rather than start immediately with fines. Because we're really trying to solve the problem. We're not trying to turn this into a revenue enhancing opportunity.
yeah,
Right.
agree.
Understood.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I agree with Dave. I brought this to your attention weeks ago with a complaint that came to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
But I also recognize you wouldn't be able to do anything until this is passed.
Right. And
okay.
that was the problem in itself. We couldn't go to this particular area and say anything because
We
we
don't have
didn't have
anything,
any,
we don't have any teeth. Yep.
right.
does
Well, the
anyone have,
language was very ambiguous at best. When the chief and I were talking about it, we felt it needed to be strengthened.
does anyone have any qualms about passing it as an emergency?
No.
Hearing none, can I get a motion?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-14 as an emergency ordinance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you, Town Administrator. I do have one thing to go before new business that I wanted to potentially get the board's feeling on and possibly direct the Town Administrator on, is I was considering bringing before the board a change for unopposed elections. that we would consider moving forward with canceling the election if it is unopposed. It would be about a $5,000 savings to the town of Rising Sun to do it. And if there's only, those two candidates on the ballot, we don't allow write-ins. Is there anyone
I have no
opposed to-
problem with that. The last three elections have all been the same. So if we can save the town $5,000, or even if we have to pay the voting machine company.
I don't think we need voting machines for.
I don't
those
think
elections.
I don't think we do either, but I'm not sure if we've made a commitment.
Well, let's untangle this a little bit. I don't think you could do anything for the upcoming election for two reasons. Number one, you need to change your charter to make this provision to basically have some mechanism to say that it was an uncontested election, whether that be the elected body at a meeting saying we're declaring this an uncontested election and close the book, so to speak, on it. I'll talk to the town attorney of what that would look like. And then secondly, you are correct, we do have to schedule these machines, in advance. Now, fortunately, our elections are not held on like general election day. So it's not like we're having a vendor who commits to us and then a month before we say, oh, we don't need the machines, and now they're out. Even with that said, there's probably gonna be within the agreement something where they're gonna want some kind of guarantee of something, and that goes to your point, even if we have to pay whatever for a cancellation on it, that's much better than paying the $5,000 and then having people sit here for 12 hours that day.
So I'm hearing everyone is on the same page. We're okay with something coming before the board
Yes.
potentially at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
and that would be a charter change
Okay.
resolution.
Thank you, Town Administrator. All right, moving forward into staff reports, or excuse me, citizens' input. Would anyone like to speak this evening? Hearing none. Staff reports, Town Administrator?
No report.
Okay. Chief?
I will be brief. I'd like to thank the board for the donation you made to the Cecil County Canines. Although we don't have a canine here in town, we do utilize them quite often, and the partnership's great. Helping assist them is a great thing in my opinion, and I'm happy that this town decided to support them. And that's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Assistant Town Administrator?
I don't have a lot, just that our audit is coming to conclusion. We have 2 days this week, tomorrow and Thursday, and the audit will be finished. And that's it, that's all I have, really.
All right. Town Attorney, do you have anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yes,
can.
sir.
All right, great. I just wanted to give you an update about what we're going to be trying to get done before the end of the year, since we basically have 1 quarter left. Obviously, we're going to try to get this franchise agreement done. I know that's important for the mayor and the cable company to get that knocked out. So that is in its final stage. We also have some changes that we need to make to the ethics ordinance. The state law required that. That has a little bit of a process to go through, but after we go through the process, get approved by the state, we'll be bringing that to you. And then December is the date after which we can begin proceedings on the tax certificate for the property on Main Street. So we want to be prepared for all of the effort that's going to have to go through the tax process. And so that's what we're looking at. If there's something else, we also are talking about the Rails to Trails deed. Remember that? It comes up every millennium here. We don't seem to get it done. We have a plan to try to get it done, to get that off of our list. So those are the priorities. If there's more, let Calvin know, and we'll take care of it.
Thank you for dressing up for us, Jay.
I'm happy to be here in the same time zone.
Thank you. All right, moving forward into the mayor's report. My report's pretty brief, just a few updates on some things that have gone on since our last town meeting. Myself and the Board of Commissioners, I guest bartended with the Oxford mayor for a fundraiser to help with their Main Street that experienced a really severe fire. We raised a significant amount of money for the Oxford Rebuild Fund. Myself and the Board of Commissioners also presented a check to the mayor of Oxford in the a donation directly to the Rebuild Fund, which will help not only the families that are displaced, but those businesses as well. So thank you so much to everyone who came out for that. I also recently toured the new Hatchers on Main, and it is looking amazing. Myself and Chief Peterson were out busy spray painting our O's with chalk, and we ran into them and were able to do a tour of Hatchers. It looks beautiful. Looking forward to them opening in the new year. They're going to have an expansive menu as well as the ability to host events. It's just going to be a wonderful facility located where the old Sue's was. In addition, myself and Chief Peterson attended an Orioles game with Lieutenant Governor Miller. We enjoyed a first pitch that she threw out on the field and interacted with some Orioles players. And we thank the governor and lieutenant governor for inviting us to the Orioles game. In addition, a huge shout out to Judy and to our staff, as well as to our public works team for the great job decorating Town Hall and also changing our pink lights on Main Street for breast cancer awareness. You can see those throughout the month of October. That is the end of my report. Moving forward into commissioner comments. Commissioner Braun.
The Planning Commission met on Monday, September 18, to hear two separate Planning Commission Board of Appeals cases. The first involved the opening and operation of a daycare facility at 8 Cooper Avenue, accommodating about 30 children ages infant to 5 years. After careful deliberation, the Planning Commission made a recommendation for approval with conditions. That was then forwarded to the Board of Zoning Appeals for their meeting, which was held on Thursday, September 21. The Board of Zoning Appeals approved the request for the daycare to include the recommendations made by the Planning Commission. The second case involved the opening and operation of a Navis Tire Center next to the car wash on East Main Street across from McDonald's. After careful deliberation, the Planning Commission made a recommendation for approval with conditions that was then forwarded to the Board of Zoning Appeals for their meeting, which was held on Thursday, September 21. However, the applicant requested a continuance to better prepare for their meeting. That meeting will be held in this room on Wednesday, October 25th at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Braun. Commissioner Kleiner.
I have no report this month.
Thank you. Commissioner Pearson.
Yeah, first, I'd like to thank the Public Works for their hustle on the Ryan Drive water break. They really did a hell of a job real quick. The people were out maybe 10 hours, but more importantly, the morning rush hour and school rush, they had water back, which was a significant thing. That's about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pearson. Commissioner Warnick.
No report.
All right, thank you. On the agenda, you can see the Board of Zoning Appeals schedule as well as upcoming town events. Just a heads up that we will be rescheduling Spooktacular. We're planning to announce the date, the new date due to the weather within the next couple of days. You can also see upcoming town holidays, trash, recyclable, and yard waste schedules. Is there anything else to come before the board? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.